We'll call this committee of the whole meeting to order on June 10th, 2025 at 6:02 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, is there anybody like to speak under public participation this evening? Okay, for the record, there is no public participation. We will start with item number 4, request a permit, Copper and Oak, St. Jude fundraiser, Saturday, June 21st, 2025. Ms. O'Donohue.
So I will be abstaining from this vote, but I will kind of fill you in a little bit on the St. Jude fundraiser. So this will be our 6th year doing it. Over the last 5 years, we've raised $25,000 for St. Jude. Last year, we had 91 registered Jeeps. I guess not necessarily Jeeps. We do whatever you want to drive. That's what we'll take. 255 people were there, and last year alone, we raised $11,534. All the money that we raise goes back to St. Jude. We mostly what we've done in the past, we've supported St. Jude runners. So my youngest son, Austin, has been a St. Jude runner for the last 6 years from Washington. His girlfriend is a St. Jude runner. Cassidy Ferguson, that helps put on the event, has also been a St. Jude runner. And then we've just had multiple St. Jude runners that in different towns that haven't been able to meet their goals. So we've also helped assist with their meeting their goals so they could run too. So that's all I have.
Okay. Place this on the consent agenda? Okay. We'll place item number 4 on the consent agenda. Next up is item number 5, request a permit, First Presbyterian Church, 42nd Church Barbecue Dinner, Wednesday, July 16th, 2025. Any questions or comments on this request? Place this on the consent agenda? Okay. We will place item number 5 on the consent agenda. Ms. Bateman has an additional one that didn't make it on the agenda.
This is from the Lincoln Park District. They're going to do the Children's 4th of July parade. It's something they do every year. It'll be from 10:45 until 11:30 on the 4th. And I sent you an email of the map and everything that they do. And I believe it's the same route, too, that they've always done.
Any questions for Ms. Bateman? Place this on the consent agenda as well? Okay, we'll place that request to permit on the consent agenda also. Hold on 1 second, please. Okay, the next item up is item number 6, Economic Development Commission grant approvals. This request came in, what is in your packet. There is an adjustment that I want to make sure we call out. The packet calls for item number 1, MLWH LLC. It states that it's for window replacement. No, it originally stated it was roof replacement, but it's for window replacement. She gave me the updated copy here. So just for awareness, that slight change has been made. Well, it says, please make sure to correct this. I forgot to, yeah, it's for window replacement. The other memo states in the packet roof replacement. So other than that, no changes to this request. Any questions or discussion on this one? Place this on the regular agenda. Okay, we'll place item number 6 on the regular agenda. Okay, the next item up is item number 7, change of health insurance to Blue Cross Blue Shield effective July 1st, 2025. Ms. Bateman?
This is what I brought up last week under announcements. So this is just a formality that the council kind of nod that go ahead with it. So, and we're getting sign-up sheets where people are selecting their plan, and hopefully everything will be in place.
Alderman Parrott?
Were the unions and the employees pretty okay with this then?
Yeah, all 3 unions came back to me and said that they were they were okay with it, yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Bateman? Place this on the regular agenda? Okay. Place item number 7 on the regular agenda. Next item up is item number 8, mayoral appointment of Julia Gerardo to the Historic Preservation Commission. This particular candidate was recommended by Alderman Keller. Just for awareness, Historic Preservation has had some, not Alderman Keller, former Alderman Keller. This particular commission has had some turnover, and they are short to the point where they haven't been able to actually meet. So we're working on rebuilding it. So this will be the first of probably a couple requests that come before you. But Ron Keller did recommend Julia. I spoke with her on the phone, and she would be excited to help again with HPC. Any questions? Place this on the, Ms. McClellan.
I was just curious, are the applications still going through for historic preservation, or?
We have been moving them through the process. I've been speaking with the commission members. There was one that I had to approve to keep it moving through just because it was a new business opening up. But other than that, that's the only one.
I wondered about Overstock Outlet, if they even,
That was the one.
yeah, if they even knew there was a regulation concerning their new sign and stuff. So, because that would probably make a difference with the bid, maybe even, so.
Yeah. I think I ran it by the chair of HPC, and she didn't seem to have any concerns and understood the actions that were taken. But we want to get to the point where HPC is fully seated again with members. So, okay, so place item number 8 on the regular agenda. Okay. Next is item number 9, request for special use permit at 1009 Woodlawn Road. Mr. Woodhull.
Thanks, sir. Yes, we had a planning commission meeting on May 29th for this request for a special use permit for a drive-through window for a quick service restaurant. This used to be the site of the car wash on the southeast corner of 66 and Woodlawn. The planning commission approved it unanimously. They have more than covered their requirements, so we're asking for the same.
Questions for Mr. Woodhull? Mr. Bateman?
Is this the one that's been discussed for several years and been on hold?
Correct. Yeah, looking back, 2019 is when I first started messing with this. So.
Okay.
It's been a while.
You can't say what it is yet?
It's gonna be the Taco Bell. So people will. I told the requesting parties that once we had this meeting that it would be, cat out of the bag, and people would the general public would lose their minds over it. So
But it is moving forward at this time. I know this one had to do with the debt.
when he reached out to me most recently, it happened to be April 2nd, and I said, April 1st was yesterday. Leave me alone, sort of thing. They're good people. They've had a lot of starting with COVID and then deaths in the business and then changeover, all this stuff. So their 100% intention is to move forward. So I'm kind of, a little bit cynical with, especially this one 6 years later. So when I see a shovel in the ground, I'll be a little more excited. About the same, a little bit older,
Same.
about the same time, yeah.
Alderman Parrott?
Just with some personal interest in this, when will this be completed?
Without giving any plans or anything like that, I believe the intention is by the end of the year.
Thank you.
I can hear the applause now.
Thank you.
Okay,
If it doesn't go through, it's not my fault. Just
we'll be sure to give them your number.
thank you.
Okay, so place item number 9 on the regular agenda? Okay. Okay, moving on to item number 10, funding resolution and agreement with Illinois Department of Transportation for section 2CS 22X, RS-2, 28CS, RS-3, I-55 Business, Kickapoo South. Mr. Landers?
Yes, this is a project that IDOT has scheduled. I believe the letting date is June 13th. They're gonna be doing resurfacing and some other work from Keokuk Street to Lincolnwood on, north of town, from Keokuk out to Lincolnwood. The street's gonna get resurfaced, and there's some other miscellaneous work that's gonna take place. And this, is to cover our intent to cover our share of those costs.
Ms. McClellan?
We're not buying any property for this. It's what, I mean, we're not.
No,
widening
this
it.
is,
Okay.
no, it's the road that's there. There's been an agreement with IDOT, so there's a mutual agreement on that roadway. Basically, their responsibility is the driving lanes. The parking lanes are our responsibility, and the sidewalks and the curbs and the signage and stuff like that. So this is just to cover our cost for, what our responsibility is.
And for the record, that's a cost of $23,000. Any questions for Mr. Landers? Place this on the regular agenda? Okay. We'll place item number 10 on the regular agenda. Okay, couple of other items. Ms. Runge just walked in, perfect timing, thank you for coming. Andrea, I spoke with her earlier this week, and she has a request before the council to put some QR codes on some sidewalks throughout the community for a survey. And it's not necessarily a time critical thing, but I think it's a fairly straightforward request, so I asked her to attend. So with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me. As Mayor Welch indicated, sorry, just came from another meeting. Woo! We are wanting to do a survey for the Lincoln Way. You know, the Lincoln Way is a branding initiative that we're doing to attract more young people to Lincoln. And part of that is making sure that we are telling the story of all Lincolnites, not just those that sit with me in those meetings. And that means giving some good old-fashioned survey work out in the community. One of the things that we want to do, because it is not something that is relatively, I mean, it's a different kind of marketing to put a decal on a city sidewalk. So when people are walking, they're going to see a QR code. In the center of the QR code, it has the Lincoln Ways, one of the Lincoln Ways slogans, which is just be you. We want everyone to know that they are welcome in Lincoln if they are just a good person. So whatever you are, we want you to be who you are here with us. These would be of whatever size you determine. I would like them to be maybe 10 to 12 inches. They're square. And we would want them to be on city sidewalks for about 30 days. People who are doing the survey will have two different ways that they can participate. One is if they are a visitor, and one is if they are a resident. If they are a resident and they complete the survey, they will be entered to win a $500 prize for giving us their feedback. And if they are a visitor, it'll be a $100 prize. So there will be an incentive. And we want to make sure that when we are telling the world how wonderful Lincoln is, that we're telling the story of everyone and not just someone's interpretation of what a good marketing plan would be. It is against a city ordinance, though. So with that,
Yep. That's why she's before you, to get permission from the council. Questions? Mr. Downs?
So first, let me start by saying thank you for doing this. Second, if you think this will help people, I'm all for it. But I've never heard of decals going on a sidewalk before. Like, how's that work? Is it a sticker or what?
it's a vinyl sticker
Will
that
it peel up or the weather?
So I would take them up after 30 days to be respectful of the ordinance, even though putting them down is against it. But the way it was, so in COVID times, remember there were ones that said, you know, be mindful of 6 feet social distance that were on maybe ground of different places, like a supermarket.
For inside, though. This is outside.
Yeah.
So, okay. And it won't get damaged by weather or ran over by, I don't know.
I've heard no, but I have to admit that I am not the authority on that in the Lincoln Way group. My branding guys are much better with that. But I will assure the council through email that it, A, will be low-tech and come up easily, and B, not be destroyed by weather events, if that is pleasing to the council.
And it won't be a tripping hazard or interrupts.
No, it's just a sticker. Like, it's just a larger scale vinyl sticker.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Runge? Mr. Barrett?
So what are you going to do with the data?
The data will inform how the Lincoln Way proceeds. So I was here a few months ago, and I shared you a clip of that data. The Lincoln Way as it is, with the branding package that it has, is made by my team and myself. And although it is, we feel very rooted in both the different parts of Lincoln, so the historical aspects of it, and Route 66, there's a lot of different thoughts behind it, but it's not something that we've asked anyone else's opinion for. So the first phase of that branding is really to get people interested in being a part of the initiative, telling their story of how they are themselves in Lincoln, and share that with the world. The more people that we have and the more varied stories that the world knows about people who can come here and be entrepreneurs or artists or teachers or whomever, have a family to raise them in a safe environment. However we can tell that story, we get more awareness in the world for who Lincoln is.
So where do you tell the story, and where do people go to read the story?
So it's we have print digital is our online branding, our social media and marketing team. So they will make sure that people see the story, and it is very young people focused, so it will live on social media. And the other aspects of that team are myself from economic development, and then we have Double Oak Branding, who takes all of that information, and the beginning document for the survey was actually their branding document that they send out to new prospective customers. We went through it and made sure that it was very rooted in positive inquiry, so that when someone is answering these questions, it will be positive, they will be led to positive responses, because we want to tell the best of who we are. Yes.
Who owns the data? Is it LEED or is it Lincoln Way or?
It would be Lincoln, or it'd be LEED's data, because the Lincoln Way is not its own entity. It is an initiative powered by LEED. But it would not be sold.
Oh, just.
Yeah, no, I mean, it would just be for information purposes only, with the intent of it being the data on which we change the marketing strategy for the Lincoln Way to be representative of everyone, not just the marketing professionals we have.
Will we have a link for this on our website?
For the survey,
The
we
link
can
to-
put the QR code on our
Yeah.
website.
You can
Yep.
have either.
If
Yeah, I would do both.
you can provide the QR code to us, correct?
Yes.
And we have a very shiny new website that launched, which we'll talk about later. So it'd be perfect for it. Mr.
I'm
Barrett.
sorry, I got a lot of questions. So then, only promoting the good stories, because there'll probably be some stories that may not want to be shared. What, do those get shared?
No, but so appreciative inquiry is a community development philosophy where you understand that there is nothing in this world that is perfect, but you celebrate the assets and you put those assets together, and because of that, you are the best of who you are. For example, Bach was deaf, and yet he sawed the legs off of his piano so he could put his face to the floor and hear the music that way. So how is it that we tell the very best of who we are? It's by focusing on our assets. And the way that we do that is through asking questions, through appreciative inquiry that lets us focus on the assets and not on the negative.
Any other questions?
You're welcome.
Okay, is the council okay with placing this on the regular agenda? I think we should take a vote on it just because it's an actual ordinance and you're asking for an exception. Okay, we'll place this on the regular agenda then.
Thank you
Thank
so
you for
much.
coming. Okay, next up, before we get into item number 11, I have another topic to add. So we've had discussion about tourism funding in the past and the intention of the city moving forward. But part of that was also to support the county initiative and the outlying communities because we have traditionally done that for many years through the Bureau. And so initially we said that we would consider an amount of up to $25,000 to the Bureau so that they could continue those sub-grant initiatives and serving the outlying communities. So I'd like to open that up for discussion and put that amount on there. I will say that I had a meeting prior to this meeting, and Alderman Parrott and I were in that meeting together with the chair of tourism, and they would like to request that that amount be $30,000 to cover the $25,000 plus $5,000 for the sub-grant program. So with that, Mr. Parrott, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, so, and Neil, you can come up, maybe answer some questions in case. Yeah.
Yeah, Neil Patel is the treasurer for the Logan County Tourism Bureau. Neil, you can step forward if you'd like.
So, the committee, the finance committee and put together some of our costs, and we've met a few times to really try to get these numbers to where it is doable. And currently, right now, we stand at about $97,000 for total expenses, and that's with a $30,000 matches from both the city and the county. There are certain aspects of the CVB grant from the state that would have to be those dollars would have to be used to meet those, and this is probably close to bare bones as possible. There's certain expenses such as going to conferences that you have to go to as a CVB. You have to also spend so much money on advertising, on a salary. And currently, we would like to, I think in this particular budget for a salary, plus some stipends around $40,000 for that. But I think this also included that the Bureau would give up assets, right?
Yep.
Because we couldn't keep the assets and pay for the assurances and some of those pieces to it, maintenance and those types of things. I did, excuse me. I do know that one of our board members spoke to council, and that we are able to provide the assets to a municipality, Lincoln perhaps, hopefully, so that we can get rid of those assets and still Logan, Lincoln be able to really utilize those assets. So, as the mayor mentioned, we have a request to maybe go up to $30,000 with a match from the county as well. I would personally like to see if the city took over the assets that perhaps the county could go up. Excuse me, I've been fighting a cold for 2 weeks now. Maybe more, maybe 35 or 40,000. But I think they're meeting later this week. Excuse me. Or a group of them are meeting later this week. So hopefully we can have some better ideas after that. Neil, am I missing anything?
No, that's fine. So we're trying to work it out with the county and city. And this budget, I am with the board last 4 or 5 years. and this budget looks good. And as per the assets, it is the assets, it's helpful for the tourism too. And it is also helpful for the Route 6600 years coming up. And it will be maintained, so it is, assets needs to be somebody will taking care of, because the tourism will not able to do it. So all the expense for the maintaining and the insurance, which one it's on the page, it is looks like around $15,000, something like that. So if you have any question, then I can give you the answer.
Mr. Anderson?
What are the listed assets that you're referring to?
It is a depot, mill, garden, a coma, there's a statue. It's also wagon, app, there is a fence, markers, so there is a page over here. You can see how much each one got for the insurance and how much to maintain the landscape and stuff like that.
Yeah, so the assets, at least from our conversations, would be, so that we own the depot and we own the Welcome Garden. There's an agreement, which that agreement will probably cease at some point for the Welcome Garden. But it would be the mill, it would be the covered wagon, the donut that's being developed, it will be the watermelon benches, if those come to fruition, and the Lincoln letters. There's white letters that say Lincoln that's going to be placed as part of a grant they received. And then there's some wayfinding signs that were part of the grant that are being placed throughout the community as well. So there's several assets. And did I miss any?
No, that's right.
We own the traffic sign. Yeah. So those would be the ones that Mr. Patel's talking would, if the Tourism Bureau would like, and the council would be amenable to transfer ownership of those to the city. And as Steve said, the idea is really that these are part of our tourism package and program for our community. A lot of them have a lot of historical value, and we want to preserve them. We don't want to see them fall into the hands of somebody who might not take as good a care of them, might not be able to promote them. We feel that that's something that we could take on. That doesn't mean that we couldn't have a discussion later down the road if a better option comes along, but this at least preserves them and then gives the Tourism Bureau some of that relief that they're already experiencing and the cost to keep and maintain them. Anything to add to that, Neil or Steve? Or Sam? Sam's on tourism as well. So the request then would be to fund the Logan County Tourism Bureau in an amount not to exceed $30,000 contingent upon a like or greater contribution from the county. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Mr. Anderson?
So during our meeting that we had with the county, it was talked about the possibility of maybe entering a multi-year agreement. Is that still something that's on the table, or is this a one-year topic at this time?
My opinion is that early conversations with multiple members of tourism felt that we needed a year to see if this is sustainable. I'm not opposed to a 2-year agreement, and I wouldn't go any greater than 2 years, but I do believe that it should still have some language in there that the attorney can help us with that allows both parties to part ways if it just isn't simply working out. Ms. McClellan?
Do we know what that relationship's gonna look like yet? Are we gonna have representation, or do we care to have representation on? Is it gonna be a board still with 8 or 12 members?
There's talk of the bureau members paring it down, and I think we'll have some hard discussions on that and what it would look like. And so far, the discussions sounded like, yeah, that makes sense, you know. So yeah, I do anticipate the number of board members being reduced, but there would still be county and city representation for sure.
What other questions are there? Okay. Mr. Anderson?
Also referring back to our meeting that we had, there was a request to get some information from the Tourism Board about how the funds were spent in the past. Is any of those reports available to us?
Yeah, we can get those reports. Those were initially provided to the county when they had to sign for the bureau status. But I think what we have budgeted in past years, excuse me, about $15,000 for grants. But for the last 4 or 5 years, I think we probably had $10,000 of those spent each year. But yeah, we can get those. Is that what you're talking about? The grant specifically, or more?
Yeah, the grants and any funding, any detailed type of reports that they spent X number of dollars in this community versus X number of dollars in this community, and what the event was or topic that they were sponsoring. Just kind of a detailed report. We had asked for that. It was brought up, and I think the county wanted to see it as well as us. That like to know what that
We can
information
get
is.
that and have it emailed to everyone.
Yeah, I've actually got something I got from Lexi a while back. It's everything together in the sub-grant programs and then something called an IoT grant. And I can send you a copy of those, and it breaks down which communities got how much. So I'll send that. Let me make a note and send that after the council. Are you any further question on that, Mr. Anderson? No. Mr. Bateman?
So I would like to see a detailed report. I don't want to see something that says we spent $10,000 on advertising. I want to see $10,000 on advertising. This dollar amount went to advertise this event. This dollar amount went to advertise. I want to see a detailed accounting report, not just a general chuck it in the bucket report. Because that's one of the things we asked for at that joint meeting is we need more details than we need just generalization.
So beyond, just so that I understand what you're asking for, beyond well, I'll just tell you, beyond the date, the account it came from, the check number, the name who it was wrote to, the description, the amount, and the balance, are you looking for any additional information?
No, just as long as it's, I just didn't want a breakdown like I described of we spent $10,000 on advertising. I want to know what they spent it on, advertising, why. And
Okay. I'll give you this afterwards. You could take a look at it, but I'm going to send everybody an electronic copy of this so that you have it. And if there's something that you're looking for that's not on here, then Neil and Steve and Sam can work on getting that from the Bureau.
Yeah, I would say just real quick, most of our advertising costs were through medias, and I know that you had some of your events and stuff like that. What $1,500 or whatever. Right. That we could.
Yeah.
We can check that out.
Ms. McClellan?
I think I have just about this much experience with tourism, but I think when we're looking at those numbers, we have to remember that part of that is a grant from the state, and it's very, very detailed about how you can spend that money. So if you feel like they're spending too much on advertising, I'm just saying, let's look and see if the grant requires them to spend that much, because sometimes it's requiring, in order to keep the grant, you have to spend so much in a certain category. So if everybody kind of keeps that in mind when they're looking at that.
Yeah, and to that point, we spent way more than what we were required to for in the past. But as the budget that was put together, we currently have around 15,000. But that number will fluctuate depending on how much money comes in from the municipalities. That has to be spent, but that's a way low number compared to what we were doing.
And for clarification, so that we're talking apples to apples, there's advertising that takes place through digital marketing companies to attract people here from beyond the 50-mile radius. The sub-grants, that's not what these are. These are or events and organizations that come through, and there's 3 types of grants. There's a preservation grant, a sponsorship grant, and an advertising grant. And each one of them, they have funded, at least for the past few years, $5,000 in each account. But collectively, we heard from Molly tonight, they didn't spend more than $10,000 of that 15 last year. So, but we can get that for you, everybody.
So some of us didn't know nothing about any grants. I would ask.
Okay. What other questions? Okay, so Are we okay placing this item on the regular agenda for next week? Okay. We'll place that on the regular agenda. Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
Okay, going back to the agenda. Next up is item number 11, discussion on creating a committee of code of conduct. Mr. Hoblet?
So we tabled this the last time we were here with the idea that we're going to be creating a committee. And it was put on the cow here for discussion tonight. I don't know what the council is looking or desiring in regards to a committee itself. I will note there is a commission that already exists. There's an ethics commission. This is just this is a point of comparison that establishes an ethics commission. They do their own investigations, and this is primarily in regards to violations of the state Ethics Act in regards to campaigns. So when you're making, like, say, there's a gift or there's certain prohibited activities when you're campaigning, there are penalties outlined. We know that in my proffered package that there was a penalty amount. There is a penalty already in the Ethics Commission, like, say, for those that violate the prohibited election, what they're not supposed to do. And next is when running for election, which includes up to 365 days in jail and $2,500 in fines. For the gift ban, so if you violate the gift ban provisions, that is a fine between $1,000 to $5,000. So they're already, and they are reflective of state statute, but they're already hefty fines in there. And I will note that the first fine I mentioned, the language of that is reminiscent to what is known as a Class A misdemeanor. They just went on a long way just to describe it. So we do have fines in place. That respective commission is located within 1-19. So they outline what is prohibited, the definitions, what is prohibited, establishing the commission, and then the penalties below it. If you guys want to frame what you want to do now in accordance with that, that might be beneficial to outline certain things which you're defining, what is prohibited, what is the commission or committee that you're establishing, and what would they be the penalties that come thereafter. So that might be a good template for what you're promulgating to do, but I'll leave it upon the council for discussion.
Discussion. Ms. McClellan?
I'm not sure that we had thought about dealing, I had thought about dealing with those things before, but I think we were talking more about behavioral things and code of conduct and how we want to represent the city and things like that. I think that's what we were aiming for originally with that. And so we had kind of a informal ethics committee. I don't know if anybody wants an ethics committee, but I really feel like we have suffered through a lot of things in here, behavioral issues, even sitting here before, and that we wanted to address, but we really didn't have a process in place to address them. We really didn't have, really just a process, really. We didn't have any place to go with our complaints. We didn't have any, and so by making the informal committee more formal, there would be a place for people to go if they had a problem they felt like within ourselves or within how we feel like ourselves are dealing with other people, something like that. To me, all it would be is a place where we could go to say, this is what I feel is happening. Is there something we should do about it, or what can we do about it? So, it wouldn't be, if anybody wants to form an ethics committee, which means there's somebody that people can go to say, I feel uncomfortable with this, with what's going on here. If you wanted to do something like that, then I think that would be helpful for people who have had issues before and didn't really know who to go to or who to talk to about it. So it's just providing a place. So that's up to y'all whether you want to have something more formal than what we've had before. So
Yeah, I don't see a problem with forming a committee. When I put I guess you've kind of labeled it as an informal committee, but when I put that committee together, it was because there was an immediate need to deal with a topic at hand. And so that's why I asked a couple council members. We later learned that we need a third person on there. For the record, that group still has not met, so we haven't violated that piece of code. But we do need to add a third person to that. Perhaps if we formalize it, we can add a member of the community or so to that as well, to have a balanced perspective. But that would be just my opinion on the matter. Mr. Oblit.
So there's two different types. You mentioned the informal. We have within our code, certain commissions that have been outlined. Like say the Historic Preservation Commission. We have the Economic and Development Commission. In case you haven't noticed, there's a lot of commissions that are outlined in the city code. They're there. Committees are a bit, different. Let's say we do have several commissions that are also not. We have the Liquor Commission. You don't really see that referenced a whole lot in the code. It's not in it's not in Title II. There's some reference to the Liquor Commission in, in the liquor code itself, but that is only when we get to prohibited acts and penalties, because then they'll talk about typically the liquor commissioner, but sometimes there's a reference to liquor commission. So there's some that we have outlined in the code and some that are not outlined in the code. It just depends on which direction you want to go with that.
I think that'd be kind of the will of the council, but there's nothing wrong with formalizing it and codifying it. That the idea, in my opinion, the council can always come back and repeal things later. We've repealed things in the past, but it at least codifies it so that those commissions or that code is in place after we're gone. Ms. McClellan.
Is that a commission that's also just, it's non-binding, it's like just advisory, right? Mm-hmm. Is that just because we were talking about historic preservation, does there have to be more people on a commission than there is the 3 people that might be on the ethics thing? I'm just trying to figure out how.
The attorney can step in, but I believe that number can be set at whatever the council feels is appropriate.
Okay.
Because I know that in looking out at the commission's list, some have 10, some have 8, some have 3. Yeah, the Fire and Police Commission, they have 3 members.
Since we have trouble getting people to serve on committees and commissions, it might be good to have maybe less than more.
Yeah. Yep. And knock on wood, this is not wood, but hopefully we don't have to meet, right? Exactly. I mean, if we're all doing what we should be doing appropriately, we shouldn't have to meet, but it's a tool that's there should we need to, because when a position or a situation presents itself without that in place, we've been through that before. It's frustrating for the council. It's frustrating for people that bring that to our attention. It causes the city attorney to scramble. I was scrambling for a little bit on that one as well. So, yeah. So, Ms. McClellan. Well, I think the commission could be formed, and then we already have some council members who are already engaged in that, and they helped with the attorney draft the initial set of code of conduct, which I believe has been tabled on the agenda. So they would have a starting point and a reference point. I think we've had enough discussion about this that we understand there's a few things in there that need to be changed, modified, removed, to bring back something that I think is amenable to everybody. So I agree with you. Form the commission. They can take the code of conduct, bring it back, now that we have a little bit of time to address it. So then is the desire to have the city attorney draft up language that forms a ethics commission? Is that what I'm hearing, Mr. Downs? It sounds like the attorney's recommending a commission, but I'll let him speak for himself.
Okay.
Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say for a second, but I remembered now. So we were just talking. Did we decide on how many people we're gonna have? Did I list that? 3? And that'll go into John's language and the.
He's thinking.
No,
Mr. Oblett.
I'm just thinking. I guess you could say. I mean, yes, I could put within 3. Do you guys want me to? Okay. Do you want it in the code? Do you just want to? If we're going to be doing this, do we just want to form a commission with some base set of rules?
Well,
Like I put in an ordinance.
well, I would
What do you
also.
want? Codified.
You already have code that you mentioned earlier to address other things regarding ethics.
Yeah, and 1-19.
So if you have an ethics commission, the purview of that commission can be those things already codified, plus a code of conduct that could complement what's already out there.
So
It's right- it
I
sounds
would,
like
I would
3.
think that then, because right now 1-19 is it's titled State Officials and Employee Ethics Act, and that is only in regards to that particular section. So if you're looking to amend that, we probably need to amend that title to include both of those things.
Well, can we get the commission formed first, and then later bring back the
Right,
code
but if
changes?
you're wanting to codify it now, I need to know where to put it.
Just the commission? Could it be in the section where all the other commissions are?
There is a Title II. There is one section when we took out the Civil Service Commission.
Civil service.
We reserved Chapter 2, Title 2, Chapter 2. So
Okay.
2 of the city code. It's currently reserved, not being used. I will note there's also a 2-5 Human Relations Commission, which has been in existence since 1960 and before, which I don't know how often that gets used. But we do have an empty section 2-2 currently.
Well, I don't know how the rest of the council feels, but whether you call it 2-2 or 2-10 or whatever, it doesn't matter to me where it's at in the code where you feel is best, as long as we get it in the code. So, can you work with, I believe, Mr. Sanders and Ms. O'Donohue on forming that commission? The two of you, can you make a recommendation for the third person? He'll need to know what that makeup is, whether that's a community member at large or whatever. I would also recommend that when we're putting together this commission, I thought about this after our email today, that we should put language in there that states that if a ethics violation is brought forward against a member of the commission, that they would have to be excused and someone else take their place to remain impartial. So I don't know how the attorney would like to word that. You can figure that out later. But I think that's something that we could possibly run into. So let's address it now.
Just word it like our regional planning where you name the 2 people or alternate.
Well, yeah. I mean, it would be an alternate as designated by,
Yeah, because that's the way the regional planning reads, is this person or their alternate.
yeah. We'll just have 2 positions. They'll get named by appointment through advise and consent. Yes. And then I would say if someone has to recuse himself, then that alternate would be appointed by, it could be appointed by the other 2 commission members or the mayor, however you guys see fit. Ms. McClellan?
Just one more quick question. When we were talking about it before, we were talking about aldermen and I think elected city officials. Is that the decision that you want to make? Do you want it, the elected city officials under that also? Or do they have something else that they're already, or do we even need to include them? City employees obviously would not be, probably. They already have their own guidelines, I'm sure, that they have to go by. But
Well, I'd leave the council to figure, yeah, can someone see whose car's going crazy? It's likely one of ours. Chuck's, yeah. Yeah, Chuck's definitely didn't do that. Okay. So to answer that question, well, we can get to that later. That would be in the code of conduct. The commission would just be formed to address the code of conduct. So we'll come back to that. Okay.
It stopped when you got up.
Okay. Any other discussion on this topic? Oh,
They ran away.
it was you?
Yeah.
That's not good for tourism. Okay. So item 11 will be brought back at the next cow. Okay. Okay, moving down to announcements. I've got a couple. The first is that there is a ribbon cut coming up this Saturday. It is at, and I'm going to butcher this, Imago de Pilates at the Dugan Center on North McLean Street, Suite 5. It is Saturday, June 14th at 1:45 p.m. with an open house to follow from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. It is Tappy and Emily Tapscott. They are the owners. So if you're available Saturday at 1:45 p.m., there will be a ribbon cut. Next item up is, I mentioned the city website. For a lack of a better term, the old website was just dying a slow death. It would run, and then it would run for a while, and then it would clock, and you could never get to it, and people couldn't pay sewer bills. We couldn't look up information. So we made the decision this weekend to just rip the Band-Aid off. Then there were some things that needed to be worked out with the new website, but we decided to go ahead and get the new one live. We're going to work through the issues. So that being said, the new website is up. You might see some information that still needs to be updated. We are currently working on that. That also does tie into the mobile app if you're trying to look at the calendar and some of the other pages in the mobile app. But you can still submit a request through the mobile app, and it works if you're having an issue. And then we will continue to work on getting that updated. Ms. Bateman, anything to add about the website? Okay. So it really looks great. Print Digital did a phenomenal job on it. I think once we get it all cleaned up and it moves forward, we'll be good. So, okay. Other thing, I put this out a couple times, but Third Fridays is coming up on the 20th. We've got a form out there asking for volunteers. We need 9 spots filled. I think we've got 5 so far. So if there's 4 people out there that want to volunteer, there's still some openings available. We'd love to have you help. You can find that out on the Third Friday Facebook page, a link to that. So if not, send me an email or Miss Bateman, and we'll get you hooked up. And then the last item I have on my list tonight is there was an unfortunate incident that happened out at the hospital. Without going into great detail, it required the assistance of many of our first responders, and that's police, fire, paramedics, etc. I got a lot of feedback over the last couple of days about what a phenomenal job that our police department did, that our fire department did, that the Paramedics Association did. So I've already talked to the chiefs today earlier about it, but please, again, thank your men and women that serve our community. It didn't go unnoticed this time, and it sounds like everybody made it out. Everybody was fine in the end, and they'll work through some issues at the hospital, but thank them again for their service to the community. Mr. Parrott.
Yeah, my wife was in the gift shop when that all happened, and so she was like feet away from that, and she said the fire and police and rescue all did a great job in their response. And did they life flight anybody out of there? They brought helicopters?
Yes, the initial response to the helicopter was due to potential injuries that the patients inside the car had. I'm happy to report that the patients in the wrecked vehicle only sustained minor injuries. They're both healthy today. Last contact with them was this afternoon. We were still investigating cause of the crash. So all is well with the folks inside the car.
Thank you.
And no one inside the building was injured either. There were no injuries to patients in the hospital or that were in the rehab facility that was struck.
That is all I have. Are there announcements from anybody else? Mr. Downs.
Hey, I just want to report. I want to thank everyone who came out to our Pride Festival this past Saturday. It was a great event. I'm calling it a huge success. It was a wonderful time, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Mr. Anderson.
I'd like to add a little bit to Sam's deal. I went out there myself Saturday, and I was kind of amazed at all the number of vendors that were there. You guys had a lot of vendors out there, and there was even a little guy doing some blacksmith work that you don't see.
Oh, wow.
So that was kind of interesting watching him heat up some metal and such. So good crowd. And
the weather didn't work in our favor exactly like I had hoped, but we still had a really good crowd, I thought. And it was, everything went, well, we had some other events that had to cancel due to the rain, like the bouncy houses and a bunch of games and stuff like that. But with all that being said, it was still a great turnout. So it was smooth, very smooth.
Very well organized too. It was.
That was the rest of the team, not me. So
Yep, you have a good committee. Okay, if there are no other announcements this evening, I would like to ask for a motion to go into executive session under 2C5, the purchase or lease of real property for the use of the public body.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session under 2C5.
Is there a second? Alderman Downs made the motion. Alderman Sanders, second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Sanders?
Yes.
Mrs. McCullen?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Clemens?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Donoghue?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Okay, we're going into executive session at 6:59 p.m. There may be city business to follow.